Yes, sir.
You said that in the West that the struggle is between materialistic secularism and
Yes.
Islam.
That's how it is, not necessarily how it should be.
Okay. Well, it doesn't seem to me that materialistic secularism has the ideological vigor to withstand an Islamic onslaught.
I think you're absolutely
I don't
right.
know what our prospects will be.
Well, look at this. Look, go on Amazon.com and look at my book and see all the people calling me names. Read the book and see if there's anything in there except what Muslims are saying. So really they should be calling the Muslims names, not me. But the point is that anybody who dares to quote these things that are outside the secular multicultural tolerance paradigm, well...
It seems like the pluralistic, our model of pluralism has a death wish.
Yes. Well, that's what Bakri said, Sheikh Omar Bakri in Britain, that they say they're for freedom of expression. Well, I'm testing it out. And see, pluralism does, yeah, that's absolutely true. Pluralism has a death wish, because how pluralistic are you going to be? Are you going to be pluralistic to the guy who's holding a knife to your throat? Where does it end? You're going to be willing to make the hard choices and say, we have to act differently toward this group. Well, I don't know that we have the energy to do that anymore, because then we'd be racists. Not really. I mean, racism, really, what is racism? It's taking people of a particular race and causing them harm or behaving badly toward them because they belong to a particular race. Now, is anything like what I'm saying, does that have anything to do with it? Not I think, in any fair person's mind or any realistic person's mind, but that's, these things just all fall into these categories automatically. Such is the state of American political discourse today. Yes, sir.
Seems to me that this crisis should bring us to grips with the real issue, which is the religions of the world are based on imaginations of human beings. And this Allah, who doesn't exist, and God, who, well, we don't know whether a God or whatever exists, but, you know, there are our imaginations. We need to bring this to a head and be realistic about it.
Well,
and the only way we can convince the Muslims is we need to find a way to convince them, hey, this Allah guy you belong to, you believe in, is a figment of our imaginations.
Well, you know,
of your imaginations.
There are two things that I can comment about that. Thank you. One is that's really what I was saying before, that the Archbishop of Lagos did by offering to be stoned in the place of the woman who is accused of adultery, that there he is really bringing to life the difference between Christianity and Islam and showing that there is a better way to behave.
Well, in order for us to say that Allah is created by humans, we have to accept that also this idea of God is also created by humans.
Well, I don't know about that, but in any case...
That's the reality.
Huh?
That's the reality.
Not everyone will agree with you.
No, not everyone will agree with me. But that's not really what we're discussing here today. The other thing was that there's a Hindu spokesman who said, when he read the Quran, he said, I can't tell the difference between its God and its devil. And that's very hard to get anyone who's within the Islamic system to face up to, but there's plenty of reasons why he would say that. Like, for example, in the Quran, Allah says, if I had wished, I would have guided everyone to the truth. But I decided not to. And so he's going to send these people to this terrible, lurid hell, which is described in there, simply on a whim, basically, because he chose not to guide everyone to the truth. And, well, these are the kinds of internal contradictions and pressures that the thing is operating under. But the problem is that there's no self-criticism within the Islamic world that allows these things to be looked at critically. For example, Suleiman Bashir is a scholar in the West Bank, and he was teaching in his classes that the Quran was the product of historical development, and thus man-made and not dropped from heaven, and they threw him out the window, his students. I guess they would have given his class a poor evaluation. Yes, sir?
There appears to be a lot of support for the regime in Iraq in the Islamic world.
Yes.
Iraq is a secular country.
Yes, it is.
Other than all, what is the basis of the Islamic support?
Saddam Hussein is a very intelligent man, and before the first Gulf War, he began to become a much better Muslim, and to frame the terms of the debate in Islamic religious terms, so that he was able to appeal to the sizable religious contingent, the hardcore Muslims in his country, and say, I'm the defender of Islam. And so you might not like me, but you have to support me in this, because in the Muslim world there's a very strong tradition of very great strife between among themselves, but against an external enemy they'll always unite. Yes, ma'am.
It seems to me that the driving force behind Islam isn't really maybe the fervor of their religious beliefs, but really just the drive for power or for control. Because even, just their treatment of women, it's just that they have got to maintain ultimate control of what people think, what people do, what clothes they wear, what food they eat.
Well, that's a religious impulse. Islam is an incredibly detailed religion of laws. This is a book of laws about the clothes you should wear, the food you should eat, and how you should treat your wife, and so on. And, as far as treating women goes, the Quran says in Surah 434, good women are obedient. As for those that are not, admonish them, send them to separate beds, and beat them. And so, I was talking to a very nice Muslim lady a few weeks ago, and she said, oh, but you're taking that out of context. My imam, the great Siddiqui in California, said that that's no longer operative, and we don't beat our wives. But I was looking at this translation that comes straight from Saudi Arabia, and it footnotes that verse, and it says, only as a last resort. It doesn't say don't beat them. And so the point is that, once again, there's not any one single voice speaking in this religion, and the nature of the book is such that these violent elements are always going to be there. Because even if it is just a will to power, it is firmly rooted in and justified by the book, the Quran. And so until there's a wholesale reevaluation of the Quran, we're going to be up against this problem.